Imagine if someone gathered every book in the world, every scientific discovery, every map, every philosophy, every medical breakthrough, and stored it all in one place. Now imagine that place disappearing, not because time erased it, but because humans did. That was the Library of Alexandria, and many historians believe its destruction became one of the greatest intellectual losses in human history. But what exactly was inside? And did humanity lose knowledge that could have changed the world? To answer that, we have to travel back more than 2,300 years. Around 300 BC, Egypt was ruled by the Ptolemaic dynasty, successors of Alexander the Great. His dream wasn't just to conquer the world, it was to unite it through knowledge. His successors tried to make Alexandria the intellectual capital of humanity. At the center of that dream stood an extraordinary building, the Great Library. Unlike modern libraries, it wasn't simply a place to borrow books. It was the world's largest research institute. Scholars from Greece, Egypt, Persia, India, and beyond traveled thousands of kilometers to work there. The goal was breathtakingly ambitious: collect every piece of human knowledge ever written. Ships arriving at Alexandria's harbor faced an unusual rule. If they carried books, officials temporarily confiscated them. Professional scribes copied every scroll by hand. The original was often kept in the library. The copy was returned to the owner. It sounds unbelievable today, but that's how determined they were to preserve knowledge. Over time, the library may have collected hundreds of thousands of scrolls. No one knows the exact number. Ancient sources disagree, but even conservative estimates describe the greatest collection of written knowledge the ancient world had ever seen. Inside those shelves were works from civilizations stretching across continents: mathematics, astronomy, medicine, engineering, poetry, history, philosophy. Many of those texts exist nowhere else today. Some disappeared forever. One of the library's greatest scholars was Eratosthenes. More than 2,200 years ago, he managed to calculate the circumference of the Earth, without satellites, without airplanes, without space travel, using nothing more than shadows, geometry, and careful observation. His estimate was astonishingly close to the modern measurement, proof that incredible discoveries were already being made thousands of years ago. Another scholar working in Alexandria was Hero. He built machines powered by steam. One invention spun using heated water long before the Industrial Revolution. It wasn't a steam engine as we know it today, but it showed that people had already begun experimenting with the power of steam nearly 2,000 years before factories transformed the world. Imagine what future inventors might have built if that knowledge had continued developing without interruption. Doctors studying in Alexandria also changed medicine forever. Unlike many ancient societies, some physicians carefully dissected human bodies to understand anatomy. They recorded observations about nerves, blood vessels, the brain, surgical techniques. Many ideas that later had to be rediscovered may have already existed inside those walls. But then, the story becomes much darker. Contrary to popular belief, the library probably wasn't destroyed in a single dramatic fire. Instead, historians believe it suffered centuries of damage: wars, political conflict, religious tensions, neglect. One famous event happened in 48 BC. During Julius Caesar's campaign in Egypt, fires spread through parts of Alexandria's harbor. Some ancient writers claim scrolls were destroyed. Others argue the main library survived. The truth remains uncertain. Over the following centuries, the library slowly disappeared from history. Buildings crumbled, collections scattered. Knowledge was copied, lost, or forgotten. By the time the ancient world faded, the Great Library was gone. And that's where one of history's greatest questions begins. What exactly disappeared with it? Did unknown discoveries vanish forever? Were their scientific ideas centuries ahead of their time? Or was most of the knowledge eventually preserved somewhere else? Nobody knows. Many historians believe we often exaggerate what was lost. Important works by famous Greek thinkers survived because copies existed elsewhere. But countless lesser-known writings almost certainly vanished forever. Books written by people whose names we'll never know. Ideas that no one would ever read again. Entire voices erased from history. Sometimes people claim the Library of Alexandria contained impossible technologies, secret machines, or evidence of lost civilizations. There is no reliable historical evidence for those stories. The real tragedy doesn't need myths. Losing thousands of years of observations, experiments, maps, poems, medical knowledge, and human experience is already heartbreaking enough. Today, archaeologists still search for clues beneath modern Alexandria, fragments of buildings, ancient inscriptions, pieces of the past buried beneath a living city. Nearby stands the modern Bibliotheca Alexandrina, not as a replacement, because nothing can truly replace the original, but as a symbol, a reminder that knowledge is humanity's greatest inheritance. The Library of Alexandria wasn't just a building filled with scrolls. It represented an extraordinary belief that every civilization had something worth preserving. That knowledge should be collected, shared, protected, not hidden. Perhaps that's why people still talk about it more than 2,000 years later. Not because it held magical secrets, but because it reminds us how fragile knowledge really is. One war, one fire, one generation that stops caring can erase centuries of human achievement. And perhaps the greatest lesson isn't about the library itself. It's this: the future of civilization doesn't depend only on discovering new knowledge. It depends on making sure we never lose it again.